Welcome to Hollywood and Beyond Podcast with Cincinnati host Steven Brittingham. Experience meaningful and in-depth interviews with Hollywood's most interesting people. Enjoy the show.
Hi, friends and listeners. This is host Steven Brittingham. Do you happen to have a question or a comment for me? Or perhaps you feel that you might make an interesting guest here on Hollywood and Beyond. Whatever your reason may be, please feel free to contact me anytime directly at the show's official email address. That would be hollywoodandbeyondshow@gmail.com. That is hollywoodandbeyondshow@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
You can receive all the latest episodes of Hollywood and Beyond with Steven Brittingham delivered to your favorite listening device by subscribing to the show on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or whatever happens to be your favorite podcast listening service. Don't miss out. Tune in.
Selected clips and music appear courtesy of Aaron Spelling Productions and The Love Boat.
Love, exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you. And love.
Welcome to Hollywood and Beyond Podcast, friends and listeners. The Love Boat celebration continues here on Hollywood and Beyond with my extra special guest, Melissa Anderson.
Love boat, soon we'll be making another run. The Love Boat promises something for everyone. Set a course for adventure, your mind on
Well, welcome aboard, whoever you are.
Jennifer, don't you remember? You taught me to tango.
Of course, Jennifer, the old tango. I remember it well, sort of.
Doc.
Jennifer.
Chubbs!
Oh,
Chubbs! Hey, listen, you remember Doc and Isaac?
Hi.
Oh, and this is Julie, our cruise director.
Hi.
This is my kid sister, Chubbs.
Huh.
Jennifer!
Hey, come on, we'll show you their cabin. Come on.
See you later, Valentino. Chubbs, huh?
Well, maybe I need new lenses.
Maybe.
Hi, everyone. I am your host, actor and writer, Steven Brittingham. So nice to have you listening via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or even Audible. Wherever you find podcasts available, or however you listen, thank you so much. It is truly appreciated. Well, as mentioned, the extremely talented, and wow, that's an understatement, if ever there was one, such a talented lady, Melissa Anderson is here to share some of her memories and stories from her numerous appearances on The Love Boat. Millions of television viewers know her as Mary Ingalls on the NBC series Little House on the Prairie. From 1974 until 1981. Her performance on Little House is truly impressive and memorable. It is most certainly a pleasure to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to Hollywood and Beyond, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm happy to be here.
Well, absolutely honored and thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to learn more about some of your memories from The Love Boat. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Before we go aboard the Pacific Princess, so to speak, Melissa, how about we go back even further to the very beginning, perhaps? I thought I would start off by asking where you are from.
I am originally I was born in the closest hospital at the time was Altspace Hospital in Berkeley, California, which happens to be the birthplace of another co-star of mine, Robert Culp, the late Robert Culp. we found out on my second part, actually, after the Brady Bunch, was an episode of the series Shaft, and he played my father, and we found out we were both. He asked a question similar to yours, I believe, and we found out we were both born in the same hospital, so that was kind of fun.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is, and he was a lovely man. But so I'm from Northern California originally, and then we moved to Southern California when I was 7, because I had, one of the major reasons was because I had terrible allergies, and the dry climate was recommended, drier climate.
Oh, I see.
Right. So that's why we ended up in Southern California, or I ended up in Southern California.
And how did your journey with acting begin for you?
Again, I had the allergies, I had asthma, and the doctor, I believe in Southern California, no, maybe also in Northern California, they both thought that they believed in expanding the lungs as much as possible. So as much physical activity, lessons, things, extracurricular, anything I could do to do that, developing the lungs, maybe, I don't know, but anyway, to get the lungs really actively involved would be good. So I did, I had ice skating lessons, and I had tap dancing lessons, and I had gymnastics and ballet and swimming and all kinds anyway. And the tap lessons were taught by a man named Louis Dupron, who had been hired in the 30s, I believe, maybe 40s, to be the next big star at MGM, I believe. Paramount, I think. And unfortunately, they had to release him from his contract because he really didn't have any acting experience. And those were the days he actually taught Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. I think he possibly choreographed some of their I did choreograph some of their
wow, very impressive
dances. Yeah. So, but he just wasn't an actor. He didn't have the personality to go with the great footwork. So they had to release him from his contract, so that was unfortunate. But he was a fantastic tap dancer. So I then was referred to another, because I actually was good at tap dancing as opposed to like competitive swimming, which I wasn't, or ice skating, which I wasn't particularly good at either. And I liked tap. It was fun and hard, but fun. And so I went to another tap expert. His name was Al DeRay. And he had not quite the footwork that Louis Dupron had, but he had personality galore. So I kind of got what I was missing. And around all this time, it had been mentioned to my parents, to my mother, that I should get, I was a great little dancer, and I should get some acting experience to go with it, and maybe something could come of that. And my mother didn't think much of that idea, I don't think, at the time. But over time, I understood, I overheard these conversations and kind of understood, it sunk in what they were talking about. And I thought, I think I started to bring it up also, that I thought it would be fun, and I would like to try. And so eventually, a couple of years later, I believe, my parents thought that it wouldn't work out. They could do their duty and take me around and to meet an agent or something, and it wouldn't work out. So it would all be fine. So I did meet an agent, Mary Grady, who was at that time very well-known children's agent. She also represented adults, but but she was known for having a bunch of very successful kids. And and we had a nice meeting, and we talked, and it was all good. And then she asked me about my appliance in my mouth, which was a retainer across my top teeth.
I see.
Because I lost my teeth early when I was a little girl, and they put a retainer on to keep the permanent teeth that were there from shifting. They were afraid it could be such a long time before some of the teeth were ready to grow back in that they didn't want other teeth to shift. So I had this wire going across my top teeth, and she asked me about it, and I said, "Oh, it comes out," and I took it out and I put it on her desk, and she said that she wasn't really going to take me on as a client because she thought I was, sort of just another pretty little girl, nice and polite, but not with, tremendous. She didn't think I was what a lot of commercials were looking for at the time. She didn't really think that I was particularly right for her agency until I did that. And then she thought, oh, no, I must have this inner personality that she hasn't met yet. So anyway, she took me on, and my parents, of course, were shocked. And then they really thought that when I understood that I would have to go on interviews after school and not be able to, do things that I would normally do with my friends or whatever, that I wouldn't like it, and, like that. And I did like it. I didn't like not getting jobs that often. Being turned down for things isn't much fun. But I was very fortunate to get a commercial, a Mattel commercial early on. I think one of my first interviews, and so I had good experiences, actually, and so it kind of went from there. And then I did some commercials. Again, she was right about the commercials. Commercially, I wasn't what was really hot at that time was freckles and missing teeth, and I had some of those, but not necessarily in the right places. Kind of they were looking for more character kids, I think. I see. As opposed to me for commercials. So I didn't do a lot of commercials. I did like 10 or something. But then I interviewed for the Brady Bunch and got an episode of that, which I was totally thrilled about because I was a fan of the Brady Bunch at the time.
Oh, yes.
So it was very exciting. Yeah, it was very exciting.
I bet you were very excited.
I was.
And you made an impact too, didn't you, on the episode?
Yeah, it turns out it's a quite famous episode. So that was fun, and it was great, actually. And I worked a lot with Mike Lugenland, who played Bobby. And then he did at least one episode of Little House. So it was great to later be able to welcome him to our set,
Yes.
That was really fun.
Return the favor.
And yes, exactly. And then I did this episode of Shaft that I mentioned before, and worked with Robert Culp. And then I got Little House after that. So,
thank you so much for sharing all of that. Now,
I'm sure I've talked your ear off now.
I enjoyed every moment. That was very enjoyable. Thank you so much. I love to learn about the artistic journey of folks, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm just wondering, though, I mean, you mentioned some activities that you enjoyed while you were growing up, but was there other activities that you didn't mention? Did you enjoy watching movies and television while you were growing up?
Oh, yes, definitely.
I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Of course, we didn't have, back in the old days, we didn't have 5 gazillion channels and
yes,
and cable television in those days. So it's a little more interesting now, that's for sure.
Remember, Melissa, before VCRs arrived, I mean, if you missed a show, you missed it until the summer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Totally. That's right. That's
It'd be like,
absolutely right.
darn it, I've got to wait till the middle of summer to catch a rerun of this. When,
Yes. Right.
And then
Right.
thank goodness VCRs came along, because that made me very
right.
happy. That helped.
That's right. I mean, we actually had, as kids then, you actually had to have patience. I mean, you couldn't, now, everything's at your fingertips, but not, it wasn't like that then. I feel so old, but talking like this, but it's so true,
That's the last thing I would ever think about you at this moment, is being old. And I'm only a few years behind you, so keep that in mind. Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing that. You did mention that it would be all right to, before we discuss The Love Boat and some of your memories from appearing on that ABC blockbuster that's still cherished by so many today.
That's right.
I thought I'd go ahead and just ask you, is there any story behind the audition or the opportunity to portray Mary Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie? And let me just say up front, honestly, what an outstanding performance you gave through the years on that show.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. It was, it was a great opportunity for me. And I'm a little, I think, my character is very memorable because of the going blind and all of that. So,
that really scared me, Melissa. I remember watching when that aired. It really freaked me out. Because I didn't understand what was going on. You had this sight, and then I thought, I still remember the doctor, that pause he had, the actor that portrayed him, and he kind of stepped back, and it just gave me chills.
Right. I'm not surprised you were scared, because it did come off that way. It was I had to, rewatch them for when I wrote my book, the way I see it. And so I went through and rewatched all the episodes, and I hadn't seen them in so long that I remember the impact even it had on me when I saw it. I was like, wow. That it was very, very dramatic, to say the least. Yeah. But anyway, to go back to your question.
And was there, you were probably up against a lot of people for that part.
Yes, right. I'm sorry. I lost your question there for a minute. Oh, no. I think there were at least 200 girls, they said, for each, for Mary and Laura. And the big NBC brass kind of interviewed us in the beginning. And then it was narrowed down to, 20 or 10 or so, and to meet with Mike Landon and read for him. And then it was narrowed down again to screen test for the network then. And that was interesting. I should say that the meeting with Mike Landon was very exciting because I had seen, I wasn't allowed to watch Bonanza really, because it was on I think it came on at 9:00 or something, and I was supposed to be going to bed then. So I couldn't really watch it, but I was allowed to watch the one where he went blind, actually, which is funny. And I said that to him when I met him, that I finally did see the whole thing. That's right. But I remember saying I wanted to watch it, but my mother put me to bed in the middle of it. But then eventually I did see the whole thing. And he was very funny because I said that, and he did, this big overdone, what? You put her to bed in the middle of my show? And, so my mother was suitably humiliated. But so it's interesting that happened to, be, the same thing that happens to my character in Little House all those years later. Odd. But then the screen test, interesting because there were probably, I don't know, 5 of us at least each for each role. And we had to it was during the school year, so we all had to be in school together when we were, for those 3 hours, when we were waiting to take our turn and do our screen test. So that's an interesting thing, having all these little girls up for these roles, going to school together. But we were all, of course, professional and kind and nice, like we should be.
Absolutely.
And our it was fun for me because there was another Mary Grady, my agent, client there, my friend, Tracy Savage, and she was up for Laura, and then they changed. She did her screen test, and they decided that she could be Mary also. So I really thought I was done because she had screen tested then for my role, and I thought, okay, well, obviously I'm not going to get this. Maybe Tracy will get this, and that's great because at least it's my friend. And we went out and had ice cream and went back to my house and played basketball. So neither.
There you go, having some fun.
That's right. Yeah, and she wasn't. I think something had happened also. That's right. At the end of the day, they ended up keeping another girl for Mary and another girl for Laura. And I don't even know if it was Melissa. Probably was Melissa Gilbert. I'm not sure. I don't know if I even knew. I just knew that it wasn't us that they kept to. So they were kind of mixing up the pairings, I think, is what they were doing. And anyway, they dismissed us. So we left and figured we hadn't gotten it. And it turned out that she then came on as a semi-regular friend. I think she played a girl named Christy, which was great. So it all kind of worked out. So that was good.
Very generous of you to share all of that. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind me just adding quickly, had you read the books before the audition process began for you?
Oh, yes. Yes. In those days, I don't think there was a kid, certainly not a girl, that I knew that hadn't read them. I think it was very popular then.
Yes, it was. I remember seeing them in bookstores, Melissa, where it was like, I think they had a set of books together, and it was always on display, always.
Right. That's right.
Well, that was very enjoyable listening to that, and I guess you did realize that your character would be going blind someday.
From the books, yes, and I was going to mention this to you as the last thing. From the books, Mary also didn't have much of a character. I mean, there wasn't, it's sort of, and Mary said that, and Mary did that, or Mary and I went here, or, there wasn't much. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot. And then I was afraid when they did, when Mike told me at the end of our 3rd season, I think, he said, I'm going to make you go blind at the end of the 4th season. And I burst into tears because I thought that was it. I thought I'll just be written out if they do that, because what will they have, what in the world will they have me do? And he said, no, it'll be great. You'll see, it'll be great. And he was right. It was, it was great. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. And you did bring back a memory of, in the early 80s, Melissa, I wanted to stay up and watch The Winds of War. I don't know if you recall that epic miniseries on ABC.
Oh, yes.
With Robert Mitchum in the lead. And I was very interested in World War II. I had a set of encyclopedias, and I used to study the war or get books at the library, and they made me go to bed because it was a 3-hour premiere on a Sunday. And I was raised by my grandparents, Melissa, but I did call them Mom and Dad. So Dad came in and said, well, I talked to her, and she said you could stay up. So you brought back that memory to me.
Right. Well, yeah, because then otherwise you would have been waiting until the summer.
See what I mean?
Again.
We did not have a VCR yet at that time, so
No.
I'd be waiting a long time for that. Yes. Well,
That's
that was
right.
super enjoyable, and just thank you so much for sharing all of that. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, your first appearance on the Love Boat.
Yes.
Nickname of the character was Chubbs, if you recall.
That's right. That's right. That actually, I think, was the title of the episode, as
Yes.
humiliating as it could be. Yes, that I actually do remember, that the script was titled Chubbs. Okay, great.
And I can still see, of course, you portrayed Gopher's sister, younger sister.
Right.
And I can still
Right.
picture Gopher and Doc talking, and he's like, yeah, we called her Chubbs, and here's why. And the captain said, oh, her birthday's coming up. Well, you better get 2 cakes for her, because I guess that's why they called her Chubbs. But then, lo and behold, Melissa, when you enter the ship, everybody notices that things have changed dramatically.
That's right. I've lost the baby fat, so to speak.
Yes, you sure did. In fact, Gopher became very concerned, and he asked the good doctor to keep an eye on you. But that's a tricky situation, considering the good doctor was also quite the Casanova himself.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That was Bernie Coppell, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And, I've shared this before with many people, Melissa, but I'll be brave and share it with you. I don't know if you recall or if you witnessed this, but many times when a beautiful lady would enter the ship and he noticed, he would go up and start by going, well, hi. That was like you knew he was interested if you heard that.
Right.
Well, I'm just wondering, scheduling-wise, you were still on Little House, correct, at that time?
I was.
Yes.
I guess I did this. I'm figuring I did it on a hiatus from Little House. Probably we were usually off between February or the very end of January. Sometimes, certainly the month of February, we usually had off. February, March, April, and we would go back to work in May.
I see.
So I
kind of
probably
worked
did
out.
it somewhere around there.
Well, I'm sure they were thrilled to have you. What do you recall? Like, what's it like to walk on the set of The Love Boat? Which is kind of a obviously an upbeat type of show.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm sure that was the first time I had met Aaron Spelling,
I see.
who was the executive producer of the show and many others, and who was absolutely charming. I mean, just couldn't be nicer, and so charming. A very Southern accent, and I remember. I'm not sure if it was. I doubt it was for The Love Boat. Actually, it was probably later on a subsequent meeting with him. But I remember going to his office, and he had a butler. He was the only producer I'd ever met, and still have ever met, that had a butler that would fetch your tab for you, or your Diet Coke, or whatever it was. It was
at his
awesome.
office?
At his office, yeah.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
whoa! If you
And
have a butler at your office, you're doing pretty good.
That's right. Well, he was quite successful, as we know. So yeah.
Yes.
But he was just so kind and nice that it was just it was if anyone's going to do that well, it's nice that it was him, because he was just so nice,
And he had a genuine enthusiasm for his shows, didn't he? And the characters.
He did.
Yeah.
And he definitely did.
And that's nice to
always
hear.
Yes, definitely. And walking onto the set, I think I was kind of fascinated by their, what did they call it? Well, they didn't have a blue or green screen at that time. I don't think we had gotten quite into that yet. I don't believe. But they did have they called it something, and I don't. One of them will know what it was called. But it was a kind of a backdrop, and I think they could change it. I don't know that.
Oh, okay.
That I can't remember if it moved a screen, maybe that they project. I don't remember what they did.
I think
but
you're
they
right
definitely
about that.
had. You'll have to ask one of them; they'll know. And I don't really remember it well enough.
Sure.
But I thought that was interesting, and it was very well done. And so that when you were on the deck, like at night, and then they would have a fan blowing your hair, and the moonlight, the lit set, and it was, I was amazed at how well they did it, and how fun it was that, you could just be in a studio and look like you're on the high seas.
That is amazing, because sometimes they were in the studio, like you described so well, and other times they really were out to sea.
Right, and most of their episodes were in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
They did. I don't know how many times you find this out from them too. How many times they would go on their cruises, and then they would do little pieces of many episodes while they were gone, so that then they would have those as and a lot of stock shots as well, and then they would have those episodes, that part of those exteriors done for those episodes. So they had it down, sort of like what we used to do on Little House. We would go away to Northern California or to Arizona, and we would do parts of many episodes at that same time, so that then we could use them throughout the season. And I'm sure that's what they did. But yeah, they did most of them in the studio.
Yes, and Dallas would do this. They would film partly in the city of Dallas and act the actual South Fork Ranch, but then the rest would be done at the studio later in the season. And then you just put it all together.
Right.
And I believe Fred Grandy, when he visited me in late March, Melissa, he mentioned a screen that would look like the ocean was in the distance, right? And maybe it was the moonlight.
Right.
And he said that it was used since the 30s.
That's what I was talking about. That's
what I was thinking of when you described that.
Right.
Well,
yeah,
let me
it
ask.
Looked very good.
It looks very good. It does, doesn't it?
Right.
I mean,
even
watching it today, I'm like, I really like that. It just really sets the tone nicely. And what was your impressions of meeting? Let me just say this in advance. You've worked with so many amazing leading men, Melissa. What was it like meeting Gavin MacLeod, and just what did you think of him overall as an actor?
Well, he's another. I mean, he goes in the Aaron Spelling category. I mean, just delightful and kind, just so nice. And it was his show, and he was very welcoming, and I think he really took that on, because he had that's what they did every week. They always had guest stars. So he that was his thing, and he was just a delight, really kind and nice, and he did a great job. And look at how successful the show has been, and so much of that is due to him.
Melissa, before we get to your second episode, you worked with Fred Grandy closely on both of those first two episodes in particular. And the first one, of course, was as his sister. The second was not as his sister, and it was only like the next year, which was very interesting. But I'll tell you what, Fred's just such a remarkable man, such a skilled actor. He has the most wonderful sense of comedic timing.
Yes, I agree. And the two of them, he and it was he and Ted, but they were great together, and also Bernie Kopell. Those scenes are funny and light and funny, because people think it's easy. It's not. It takes work to do that, and they really perfected it, I think.
Well, you impressed me so much, Melissa, and I'll tell you what stood out to me was that how different your character was from Mary Ingalls. And that's what I like about The Love Boat, is that it gives actors an opportunity to show a different side to them. Why we're
actually actors, right?
Perfectly said. You hit it on the nail. That's exactly
Well, it's
my
funny,
point.
you know, it's always a blessing and a curse. You're always blessed to get any work at all, and to be a working actor or actress is a shock, really, because most of us aren't. But then, you know, when you're on a successful series, it's so easy to be pigeonholed and never work again, because people just don't want to see you as anything else. So I was always trying to do different things because I loved acting, and I wanted to do, obviously, other things, and I was fortunate to be able to, and it always made it so much fun. It was so much fun to me, especially at that age in my teens and even early 20s, but to be doing playing modern characters, to not have to wear the long dresses and the boots and the you know, very little makeup and boring hair, and you know, it was fun to be able to look glamorous or just not traditional. You know, it was great. It was just it was very fun for a teenager, I have to say.
Well, before we discuss your second episode, and I just have to say, Melissa, you were just a part of some really super enjoyable episodes from The Love Boat, and I think that's just wonderful for you. And of course, you helped to make them extra enjoyable with your performances.
Oh, thank you.
No doubt about it. Well, I just would like to say, in case someone was wondering, your character comes on the dock pretty strong, but hey, he does have willpower, and eventually he helps her to realize that true love is worth waiting for. So I just thought I'd mention how it went. There was a spoiler, but I think after all these years, I can say that. Because if you haven't seen it by now, you know.
Right. That's right.
Well, let me ask you, were you surprised to be asked back?
I was. Was the second one the Cinderella thing?
You got it.
Oh, good. Yes, I was. Oh, I was also, yes. I was happily surprised, and then I was absolutely horrified that I would have to sing. I was so humiliated. I don't sing, as you can tell by the performance.
That makes two of us.
I've never perspired so much in my life. I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck.
Oh.
But it was very fun. It was a super enjoyable episode. Other than that, I had to pre-record the song "Witchcraft." I had to go buy the album, the Frank Sinatra album, and it wasn't an easy song to sing in the first place.
Yes.
And I was just a wreck. And I had to go to where was it? Anyway, a recording studio. I think it was on their lot, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Where they shot, and now I can't think of where that was. 20th Century Fox. I guess it was there. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But anyway, I had to go to a recording studio and be in a booth, and it was all, real. It was like as if I was a real singer, and I was just dying. And then I met at the studio. I met Frank Jr. Because he was pre-recording his songs right after me. But I think he had an unfortunately long wait because they had to do several takes, I think, of mine. But
it took a few takes on yours. Okay, gotcha. Aw. And no pressure, Melissa, right? Instead of just singing with, maybe someone you don't know very well, it's Frank Sinatra Jr., no less. No pressure.
Right. Exactly. And, yes, that's right. So.
Well, now, so were you also a little bit nervous when you had to sing like by yourself and Gopher overhears you? That's kind of how it all started, where you're like in the cabin and you're singing and he's like, oh, wow.
Yes.
So singing in general just was a kind of a sweaty palms type of scenario. I see.
Yes, the whole thing. Anytime I had to open my mouth and actually sing, it was not good. I think everybody knew. I mean, it was obvious. I'm not the world's greatest singer. So
wow, I didn't think you did too bad, to be honest.
one thing I should, thank you. One thing I should say about doing the Love Boat is
Yes.
that's fun, especially for me, because we did a lot of episodes that didn't have guest stars also, that were just us and our regulars and semi-regular people. But when you go on the Love Boat, you're also getting to see, if not, you may not be able to work with them, they're not in your storyline, but there are other celebrities, other stars there that, you don't know, and I remember Jamie Lee Curtis was in, I guess it was the first one. I think it was the Chubbs one. She was in one of them, one of the other storylines, I think. But anyway, one of mine. Yeah. And she was so beautiful. I mean, she was so beautiful. And I don't know if I even met her. I'm not sure, but I remember thinking how gorgeous she was. And anyway, it was always fun to be able to see, other celebrities for somebody like me who didn't normally get to, So that was fun. Very, very fun.
Did you have any clue who the other guest stars were, or did you just show up on set and go, oh my goodness, look who's on this episode?
Only if I had a call sheet, which
I
would,
see.
And I sometimes in those days too, they would deliver your script. A courier would deliver so sometimes I would, I guess, have a call sheet for the time to go in and everything the next day, and the scenes that were going to be done and all that. And then they might have the names on. They might have had the names on it, but otherwise, no, I don't think I knew mostly. So it was it was exciting just to happen to see someone,
Melissa, you are so right. That first episode, in addition to Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than this. Janet Leigh was on the episode. Conrad Bain was on the episode.
Who else? Sorry?
Conrad Bain.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
From Different Strokes. A lot of folks remember him from.
That's right.
And Jimmy Walker.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was quite an episode there for your first appearance.
Yes, it was.
Well, Melissa, it didn't stop there. The lady that played your mother. Now, I'm going to be honest with you.
Carolyn Jones, right?
Carolyn Jones. I have to be honest with you. When I was watching this recently, again, after all these years on Paramount Plus, I knew she looked familiar, but it just took me a while to realize who she, is really known for in television history from the Addams Family.
Right.
Morticia Addams.
Right. I don't think I knew. I didn't watch the Addams Family. I don't think.
Gotcha.
But I think I had seen her in her. I'd probably seen bits or something, and so I knew when I thought about it that wait, I do know. But I didn't actually watch it. A full episode, I don't think. But she was very nice too. Very nice.
And what was it like working with Frank Sinatra Jr.?
Well, I thought he did a great job with his songs. He's so smooth.
Yes.
He was very nice. I had, other than my pre-recording nightmare, quick meeting. But we sat and waited. Hurry up and wait on a film set. So we sat and waited and talked, and he was very, very nice. And we became friends after that. He would invite me over. He had not a screening room. It was really his living room, dining room, I think.
Oh, wow.
There was enough distance to be able to screen 16 millimeter prints on his wall, because it was a large space.
I see.
So he invited me when he'd have movie nights, and I met some of his friends like Jonathan Winters, and I can't remember any other famous people.
That sounds like so much fun.
But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to. There were other people, but I can't think of them now. But anyway, we remained friends for a very long time.
And Melissa, isn't it nice to see a singer do extremely well with acting? Like I thought his performance was very natural.
Yeah, it was. It was very good, and perfect for what they wanted, and I thought it was charming, which is exactly what it was supposed to.
Another fun episode, a lot of fun. As I described during the opening segment, it was definitely based a good portion on the Cinderella themed storyline, and your character gets the last laugh with the wicked stepmother, so to speak, and her two older daughters. And I think the mistreatment of your character would be coming to an end. And I liked Gopher's kindness towards your character, because again, you're not playing Chubbs anymore. You're not playing Jennifer. You're portraying a new character. And it wasn't like a romantic, it wasn't like a romantic relationship. It was like he was just there as your friend to help you step out of your shoes and sing. And I really liked that.
Right. I'm glad you're reminding me, because I don't know the last time I saw that. I mean, it's been decades.
It's been a while.
But yes, I do. As you're telling me, definitely remember.
It's coming back to you a little bit.
Well, then Fred Grandy, of course, was
just another outstanding performance.
Yes, exactly.
And there was a lot of fun of him stealing a costume for you for the because this was a Halloween themed episode, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
and that caused Julie to have to wear an outfit she definitely did not want to, and that kind of created a joke.
Oh, yeah.
In and of itself. So,
right.
Well, if we go on to your third appearance, before we get to the big two-parter, you were a part of a really wonderful episode, Melissa, and that last one, which I'll get to in a moment, you really gave just a truly impressive performance, because it was more dramatic at times. Like it was a lot of drama.
This is the one I don't remember. I mean, well, actually, these last two, I think I don't remember that well.
Well, the third one was interesting that you came back, and the storyline was this. Your co-star was Lorenzo Lamas, and your character's parents and his character parents, they all knew each other. Your two characters did, and the story was they just wanted you two to get together, and it was driving you two crazy over the years that you didn't think you really had these feelings for each other. And to make a long story short, the twist is, even though you both rebelled against that, you leave the episode as a couple, and that was kind of the theme of your third appearance.
Right. Okay. Lorenzo. We probably knew each other.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if we knew each other or not before we did that episode, but I think we did know each other. And he was again a very, very nice guy, very nice.
Well, it was a very enjoyable episode. And now, hey, I'll just repeat my question, if you don't mind, Melissa. Were you surprised to be asked for a third time, or were you not really surprised that perhaps they reached out to you?
Oh, no, I think I was always surprised.
Always surprised.
Again, if you're an actress, every job is surely your last. So I'm always, I'm always surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And again, for Aaron, you kind of drop everything. You try to, you try to always say yes.
Well, you must have really seen something special in you, Melissa, and no doubt, I mean, it just really shines on screen. Your episodes, I just really enjoyed watching your characters.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
Well, you are most welcome. And well, thank you for sharing memories of that third episode. And if we move to this big two-parter, now this was a few years later. You kind of did these first three rather quickly, but this one was, I believe, around 1986, if I have this correctly. And it was a two-parter, and the story was that you were the captain's niece, I believe. And your long-lost mother, who you thought was dead, is also on the ship and is not. She had gone to prison for 20 years. She'd actually killed your character's father, but it was in self-defense. But I guess the story was it was a different time, and they still sent her away. And you don't know she's, your mother, and then by the conclusion of the episode, you realize what her situation was, and you two decide you're going to have a relationship going forward. And it was so touching.
Right.
You gave a really strong performance in those episodes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for telling me, because that these last two, I don't know. I guess I was.
You don't remember this
more
one quite as
busy or
much as the
something.
others?
No, I did these last two, the Lorenzo Lamas one, and the only thing I do remember about this one was it was Billy Moses was in this too, right?
Well, let me
I
see
think
here.
he played the boyfriend or husband or something.
Yes, you are correct.
William, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember that part, and I remember the travel. And
yes, this one was on location,
yeah.
I believe, because it looked like you
that
were.
one we actually.
Yeah.
We did. We went. It was the Spain, Portugal, Italy cruise.
Yes, you are correct. So it looked beautiful too.
It was. It was lovely. It was really, really nice.
Now, Melissa, did you film? Did you stay on the ship during filming?
We did.
Nice.
We stayed. We disembarked and stayed in ports also. But there were times that we crossed the Straits of Gibraltar, and it was very, very bumpy, whatever we call it in sea terms. Anyway, choppy water, and everybody was sick. A lot of people were sick, and I was, proud of myself that I actually didn't get sick. But yeah, we did stay on the ship some of the time.
And hopefully the food was really good, because that would be
the food. I should mention, yes, the food was really good.
Awesome. I would think
yes,
so. That's what I love about watching The Love Boat. I see those buffets, and it just makes me hungry instantly. Well, I don't know if that's a good thing after all. I have to be careful these days. When time goes by.
It's a little dangerous though when you're working, and you're trying to watch what you're eating. It's mostly salads and sliced turkey and things like that, and shrimp cocktail for me. But it was all very, very good. Very good.
Do you recall much about working with the lady who portrayed your mother? I believe Seda Thompson. Right? Yes.
Right. And that the story with that is, I believe she had, by that time I was nominated for an Emmy, and I don't remember the year, but for Little House. And in those days, they put the categories were different. I mean, the categories were the same, but the rules and regulations were different. And they put me in the leading actress category.
Oh, wow.
And now they don't do that anymore. If you're a supporting character, which I was, Melissa and I were supporting, Mike and Karen were leads, and that's how it would go. But now they don't. Now they've changed it where the supporting characters, as far as billing goes, you're put into that category as far as awards go also. But then I was in the lead category because in the two-part episode that I was nominated for, part one, I was the lead in those episodes. But it didn't mean I was the lead of the series, of course. So anyway, I'm in the leading actress category, and I'm up against all these leads like Seda Thompson and Michael Learned and Kate Jackson, and I forget the other ones. And it was fantastic company to be in, but I knew I would never win ever, because these are well-established adult leading actresses, and Seda Thompson won. So then I don't remember if we talked about that or not. I don't think it came up.
Very interesting.
But I don't remember. I certainly wasn't going to bring it up. It would be like I had, it was sour grapes that I hadn't won. Of course, I wasn't going to bring it up.
Right.
And I don't even think she would have remembered. She would, she won a lot of Emmys, I think.
She had a remarkable career. Yes.
Yes. So she was, very professional and nice, as I recall.
And you got to do a lot of drama on this episode. Or I should say you had dramatic and emotional moments,
Right.
I was just it was different from the others because, I mean, yes, you had a likable and fun character, but boy, a lot of emotional and heartfelt moments.
Right.
And I just thought you and her did wonderful scenes together.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I tried, it wouldn't have been my first choice to do that episode because that's what I did all the time. On Little House, I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried.
Mm.
And so it was always more fun to do Love Boats and other things when they weren't as dramatic.
Yes.
Because it was lighter because I did do that so often.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, you don't say no to Aaron. And
That's
I think
right.
I had already done, by the time we did this cruise Love Boat, I had already done this series pilot for him called Dark Mansions. And it was unfortunate. It had all kinds of wonderful people in it, and it would have been really fun. But it was right at the time where he was having his huge problem with ABC.
I see.
And,
yes, this is coming back to me. Yes.
Yeah, and I think they didn't pick it up because I think they were furious with him over some part of the deal or something.
I see.
And so our show got unfortunately axed before we could make it a great series.
Well, that's a shame. That's a big shame.
It was. So I think I did the Love Boat, and I think we were still waiting. We hadn't heard yet. That could have been. But anyway, I did the Love Boat at that right around that same time.
Well, Melissa, yes, I mean, I liked your humble answer about I don't expect to win in this category, and I 100% believe you, and I understand your thought process. I'd feel the same way, but I would have to say though, I mean, even at a young age, Melissa, when I was starting to develop an interest in acting, and I didn't even realize it, I was like doing my own plays and writing my own plays and making my friends do plays, and they're like, "What's going on here?" Well, I was always impressed with you. I always thought you were just really super talented, just like so good. And I just thought I would ask you, because you are so talented and you worked with others who are so talented, when you think back over your career, Melissa, is there something that the really great ones, and I'm not naming names, so to speak, I'm just saying in general, is there anything that they did that you noticed is in common, like with the approach that they take with their work? Is it simply a matter of preparation? Is it focus? Is it their demeanor? Is there, like, when you think of like the ones you think of as the really great actors, any qualities that seem to be in common with all of them?
Yes, I think the really great actors, in my opinion, are the ones that are prepared and have really done their homework. And it also helps tremendously that they don't take themselves too seriously. They really, I know Edward Woodward, I played his daughter on The Equalizer.
Yes, I love that show.
Thank you. He worked for years and years and years as a very, as a constantly working British actor, and but he was just a delight as a person. He could tell stories that you would just fall over laughing. He was, the work was much more important than the celebrity of it, and I think that was what they all had in common.
Well, you know what, Melissa? I might take what you just said with that wonderful answer, and I might just get that framed, because I found that very inspirational. So thanks for sharing your perspective.
Someone else has said it.
What's that?
I'm sure someone else has said that.
Well, I'll tell you
what,
right? You kind of said it in a like your own way. And I just really like that. And, you know, have a sense of fun, but be prepared. See, sometimes people can't do one or, you know, they can't do both. And that's
Right.
wonderful to think of, you know, have fun, but be prepared and all of that good stuff. Well, I had to ask you because you worked with so many incredible people. Well, I want to thank you for sharing so many memories and delightful stories. I feel like I've just learned so much about you, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope I talked enough about you know, my time on the Love Boat, because I know this is all about the Love Boat. But it really, you know, it was always very, very, very happy times. But it came obviously from the top. You know, between Gavin MacLeod and Aaron Spelling, they certainly had a well-deserved hit.
And they had wonderful chemistry, didn't they, as a cast? I'm sure you picked up on that very quickly. Because you were used to that, of course, with being on Little House and seeing how all that works. And you probably noticed that quickly, I would imagine, on the Love Boat.
I did, and I should also mention Jill Whelan was you know, she was young at the time that I met her, and she was always very, very nice too, very nice.
Wasn't she so good for her age as well?
Yes, she was. She was.
I mean, I remember when she and the captain were reuniting, and I just thought this is just amazing for her age. She was just so good.
Right.
Well,
yeah, she's and you know, and a really nice girl too. So.
And I'm sure when you heard the news that the Love Boat got canceled, you know, I mean, had done so well in the ratings for the majority of its run, and then all of a sudden it had a dip. Right. Perhaps it was just more of the, you know, the sign of the times, getting closer to the end of the 80s. But I'm sure that kind of made you a little sad to hear the news that the show was canceled.
Oh yes, of course, and I'm sure a lot of us, you know, felt the same way, because it was a fun way to you know, go and show another side of yourself, or just, you know, to be working, but you know, to have a good time and be able to show the audience that you know, for many of us, that, you know, we had different. We could do different things.
And if you don't mind me just picking your brain on a final question here, if it wasn't for the pandemic, okay, let's say down the road and things are how we hope they eventually will be all the way around, do you think a show like The Love Boat is even feasible? And I'm talking about from the standpoint of having so many well-known guest stars, like financially, or do you think that maybe, you know, Hollywood could actually use a show like this again?
Well, you know, I'm constantly surprised by, and I'm sure I only know I've only seen a handful of them, but so much of what was old is new again. You know, it probably will happen again. Mm-hmm. Because it does seem that networks don't have much of a creative sense these days, because they're just bringing back old shows, you know, updated old shows. So I don't know, maybe, but there is also a calling for it. You know, people, the 80s and I guess 80s and 90s, maybe even the 70s too. I mean, people really loved some of the television then, so you can't blame them. but
so creative.
Yeah, it's hard. I guess it's really hard to have it's really hard to have an original hit these days, you know. But then there are, you know, the Stranger Things and the Ozarks and the
then you have those.
There are so many great ones, Breaking Bads, and so I prefer to see some new, you know, new television, but no, you can't blame them, and it probably will happen. It probably will.
And Melissa, do you recall back in the 70s and 80s? And it's okay if you don't, because you were obviously working a lot. But do you recall how? And I'm not saying every show, but a lot of shows, if they started off slow, they were not always axed immediately if the network believed in it. Like they gave them a chance to find an audience.
Right. I'm sure that happened with our show. I don't know if but luckily we had Michael Landon. But if we didn't have him, our show wouldn't have even sold, because the pilot, while charming, was quite slow. And Mike Landon had a falling out with his co-executive producer, who wanted to stay more with the books, the way the books were, and that would not have been that would have been cancelable television. Because what you read in Laura Ingalls Wilder book just isn't gonna work for television. It's just not gonna happen. So right, giving them a chance. Yeah.
Yes.
So we had a chance, and we were lucky too that we had him. We had a much bigger chance. But yes, there were I can't offhand think of particular ones right now, but I know there were shows that were given, at least a good 13 episodes.
Yes.
And now, I mean, what do they get? Like 3?
If you don't do well right away, it's like you're hello, good afternoon, and good night. It's
that's right. That's right.
And I think that's unfortunate. If you have the recipe for something good, just at least give it a little bit of time.
I think you have to, and for really good television, like something like Breaking Bad, that is written so well. I mean, their series Bible must have been like fascinating.
Wow.
For something like that, you couldn't just show a few episodes of that and then cancel it.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any idea what they're taking you through. You have no idea, and you have to get through it. And that would just be awful. So yeah, I mean, some really good writing and really good television has to have the time to grow, and grow on people. They have to have time to watch it and get used to the way it's done, and what they're seeing and what they're. I've been watching WandaVision, and that's another
I'm getting
one.
ready to start that.
You are?
Yes, I haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's really good. You're enjoying it?
Oh, it's really good. It's really good.
Nice.
And you don't have to be a big fan of the movies. Because I've seen the movies. I'm not the world's biggest fan. I mean, I like them.
Yeah.
But you don't I might not remember something that I should, but it doesn't matter, because the show is so inventive and so creative, and so that's another one. You can't just cancel something like that soon. Into the you have to let it go, and because you have to have a chance to get to know it, and yeah. Anyway, I totally agree with you.
Well, thank you,
to answer
Melissa.
your question.
I'll tell you, I have to tell you, this has just been so delightful speaking with you. I can't even really express it in words, how much I enjoyed it.
Well, I did too. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you for asking, and it was a pleasure to talk about another really, really good, deserving hit show, and I hope you have fun doing all these interviews.
I'm having so much fun, and you have made it extra special and enjoyable for me.
Oh, thank you.
Goodbye, Jennifer. I do love you. Like a brother.
It was such a wonderful birthday. Thanks, all of you, for taking such good care of me. And Gopher, don't worry. I can take care of myself from here on in.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey there, baby.
Am I going to see you in the city?
Afraid not. I don't get to the zoo very often.
I guess she can take care of herself.
That's my chums.
Jennifer!
Terry Mitchum. Hollywood and Beyond podcast is produced, edited, and hosted by Steven Brittingham. Thank you for listening.